Hey y'all, I'm Bernie Larson. I'm president of the Walleye Club. I'm here with John Hempering, vice president of Walleye Club. Turpening. Sorry, John. I always mess that up.
Sorry.
Here with Steve Lacine, and we're going to talk to Steve a little bit about how he approaches spooning for walleyes, summertime, high water. Right now, we're just kind of going to go through the kind of equipment he uses, how he sets up from rods, reels to his electronics. And this is his boat right here. So I'm going to turn it on over to John. To Steve.
All right. Well, anyway, I started walleye fishing in Canada for many years, and then I'm from Illinois, so I brought some of my ideas from there to Arkansas, and surprisingly, they work here. So originally, all I did was troll when I moved here a few years ago, and primarily trolling motors, trolling flicker minnows. 9 and 11 are my sizes of choice. I strictly use 8-pound fluorocarbon. I like Vanish. It just doesn't seem to have much twist to it. And I've never had my line break at the knot. I do just use a clinch knot. But if you have your drag set right, I don't think you ever have to worry about breaking off at the knot, regardless of the knot you're using. And I use spinning, obviously. I was a big fan of Shimano, always used Stradics. They came out with Vanfords. I think they're garbage. So now I'm going to the Johnny Morris, which is a lot cheaper, and I think it's equal to the task, and equally a good and solid reel. So I'm starting to use Johnny Morris reels now.
So Steve, you tie straight to your lure. You don't use a snap.
You're right. I'm not a leader guy. I don't have any backing line. Everything on my spool is 8-pound fluorocarbon all the way to the lure. And I tie straight to the lure.
Okay. All right.
So even if I'm trolling, which, for example, when I go out today, our reports from the Walleye Club tell us that 25 foot is a bit of a thermocline. People have been catching them at 25 foot due to the reports. So I'll probably troll, and I have my mapping set up, highlighted from 22 to 28 feet. It's all yellow on my mapping. So I'm going to stay in that yellow and troll with that flicker minnow, which will go about 16 to 20 feet down, depending on if you use a 9 or 11. And just behind the boat, I'm not long lining it. I'm about 60 to 70 feet behind the boat. And once I catch a few on a point, I'll stop and I'll start using the spoon.
How do you pick your line? What size line are you using?
Strictly 8-pound. I use as light as possible. I'll even go to 6-pound if I want that lure to go a little deeper. Just 6-pound, I might get some breaks. I haven't used 6-pound for a few years, but I got bulk spools of it. If I ever got desperate for a bite, I would put 6-pound on. I do think visibility is a big factor in whether you're going to get that bite or not.
And you're using a heavy pole, or using a medium fast?
I'm using medium fast and medium heavy fast. I find, and I like these carbon light Johnny Morris poles. If you ever had one, they weigh nothing. And if you're casting, I mean, you just cast all day long, and you never get tired. You know, so all my medium and medium heavy, most of them are white. All of my black rods, just so I know what I'm grabbing, are medium heavy, and I'll use those. Sometimes also, I'm still trying to figure out if one's better at the hook set than the other. So far this year, I've noticed I've lost quite a few fish on the medium heavy fast black ones, and then I switched to the just medium, and I've had a lot less. Well, I haven't had any loss on that, so I don't know if it has to do with me not feeling the bite as easily, or the fish getting some give when I hook them, but I've had a lot better hook set luck with what I've been doing so far this year, which has been casting flicker minnows.
Yep. What's the retrieve rate on your reels?
They're all 6.2 to 1, all of my reels, so they're all the same.
All right, Steve, let's take a walk around the boat and kind of show our setup on how you've got your boat set up, your trolling motor, your electronics, and your forward-facing sonar.
Okay. the first game changer for me in fishing was spot lock. Then they came out with live scope or forward facing sonar. And with the forward facing sonar, I have it set at 100 feet, which you could probably go longer. One thing I learned from John, if you're looking for schools of shad, set it for 200 feet. And then, then I'll adjust it to 100 feet when I get them in range. But I have it at 100 feet. I can cast that spoon or flicker minnow 80 to 100 feet, and I can follow it all the way to the boat. And that's really important because anyone who's used this knows that you're reeling in that crankbait, and you got these fish coming up, charging it, and then going back down. You change colors, no reaction. It really helps you determine what colors are attracting the fish. Doesn't catch the fish for you, but
also speed.
And also tells if you're on active fish or not.
That's true too. Yeah. Because sometimes when I'm trying to locate the fish, especially in the spring, I might be trolling with that flicker minnow to try to locate something, and I'll have that sonar facing the shoreline, and I'm watching for schools of fish, and all of a sudden I'll see a school of fish just outside the brush, stop the boat, start casting into them. So even if you're trolling, I'm not necessarily watching my lure, I'm watching the shoreline near me, because you never know when there's a school of fish that have moved in there. And it could be walleye, could be bass, but definitely the walleye will move in there and feed. You get into one of those schools and you got a good spot.
Good. And that brings up another question: is there's always the debate, that you hear everybody with forward-facing sonar uses. It's like, well, I like my forward-facing sonar mounted on my trolling motor, and others saying I like it mounted on a pole. And I see that you like it on a pole. And can you explain to the audience what that does for you versus on the trolling motor?
I think the pole is a giant advantage to have, because let's say you lock the boat in, because there's a school of fish 50 feet out, to the right. You're spot locked in, and you're still going to have some drift of that boat
with the wind.
With even a light breeze, and even with no breeze, the boat's still trying to move on you. So I with the separate pole, you can lock onto those fish with the pole. And if the boat's drifting a little bit, I just bump it with my elbow as I'm casting, or I'll cast and the boat moved a little bit, I'll just give it a little bump, so I'm still tracking my lure.
Yeah. So no matter where you're on spot lock, as long as you're on a pole, you can always turn your electronics to face where the fish are at.
Yeah.
Okay.
Makes it a lot easier to follow that lure.
Okay, so we went to you're using a pole. You're using a Seabright?
I believe it's Seabright is what
Seabright
it's called.
fixed pole, and that's where you can take it in and out.
It's a real easy deploy.
Deployable.
So once I stop, I put the pole in even before I put the trolling motor in. I just loosen this bolt here, which is right a little bit because I just loosen it, and I just kind of swing it out, let it down, and then I loosen this and tighten it in place. And it'll hold in a good current. This will allow me to I can just bump this, if I've cast a little bit off, and keep tracking those fish, even on the other side of the boat. Although I always prefer to fish on the side of the boat that my transducer's on. It's just easier to follow that lure, and it's kind of hard to follow that line to where the lure is when it's facing the other side of the boat. So sometimes that can get a little tricky. The other important thing about anything you're using live scope on is having that transducer angled just perfectly. If this angle just gets a little bit off and you cast it 80 feet, somewhere along that retrieve you're going to lose the lure.
You're going to lose the lure. Yeah.
So you gotta make sure that thing is tweaked just on a perfectly 90-degree angle.
That's the LV34, right?
This is the 34.
Yeah.
This was actually, I got this 34 the same day they came out for the public. I went to that big thing they had going on at Bass Pro, and I picked one up right off the bat. I know the guys already had them to test them out.
And your pole's long enough that you can shoot underneath the boat, so you're not catching the boat.
So I've got it pretty deep
when it's deployed.
It'll shoot anywhere under or behind the boat.
All right, Steve. Now you already covered that you use some thicker shads trolling to locate your fish. So what gets you to the point where, okay, I've located fish and now I'm going to do, what's the next step that you use?
Okay, so And I'm using the flicker minnows right now because of the brush. I mean, if we didn't have brush on the water, I would almost strictly use mapping to locate the points I'm fishing. But that brush, we're in a different lake right now than we will be in 45 days, hopefully. But once I locate the fish, whether it's with the flicker minnow or through mapping, because I'm looking for, and I strictly fish main lake points 98% of the time probably. I look, and I'm fishing the depth at which we already have a pretty good idea of the walleye are at, based from reports at the Walleye Club, right, and from the thermocline and the oxygen levels. And then I'm going to, depending on the wind, I want to first of all not go over the fish area where I'm going to.
You want to stay back from them.
I mean, the walleye, I don't care if it's 35 feet deep. They'll spook if I go over them with my boat. Some of them will spook, maybe all of them.
Yeah.
So once I've located areas with fish, I try to approach them into the wind so I can spot lock, keep my boat from drifting over the fish, because sometimes you spot lock and then all of a sudden, if the wind's the wrong direction, all of a sudden the back of the boat's getting too close to the fish. So I spot lock into the wind. And I can locate, you can see those fish with your forward imaging. And in my opinion, from years of experience with this, the walleye do school differently than the other fish. The walleye, inevitably, when they are schooled up on these points, are in single file. The bass kind of stack up. Yep. And the white bass are in a big circle, yep, big blobs. Yep. But you can almost tell when it's walleye in that school, at least larger walleye. The smaller walleye will bunch up a bit, but generally they're just kind of in a line along the bottom and not bunched up. So I'll just start casting into that line, and I try to stay as far out as I can. Typically, hopefully 100 feet is the end of that school, maybe even a little further. And once I cast, you can see that lure hit the water. You'll watch it drop, as long as that's pointed in the right direction and angled properly, and you can follow it all the way into the boat. When there's brush on the bottom, you're watching it, so right before it hits that brush, you start working it. And you'll see when we're on the lake, I'm double or triple pumping it a lot of times. Sometimes a strong jerk, sometimes not so strong, but you just kind of experiment with your retrieve, just like you would with any other lure.
What's the normal weight that you use on your spoons?
Well, right now I'm using mostly half ounce. Today, when I'm out, I'll also try a 1 ounce. When there's not much wind, I don't see a whole lot of difference between a half and a 1 ounce, but that 1 ounce will sink quicker, and sometimes I want a little more of a drift going down, and the 1 ounce is going to be easier to follow in. But once we get another month down the line, I'll probably strictly be using 1 ounce because all the shad are bigger at that point.
Is there a certain type of spoon you're using?
Well, there's 3 different spoons I use, and I have them all in the boat right now. You'll see them when we're on the lake, but War Eagle is the most common, and white is the most common color I use. I'll use chrome also. I have a chrome on right now. I also have a Binks spoon on. I don't know why, but with the Binks spoon, I have a lot better hook set than I do with the War Eagle. Sharper, stronger hooks, I don't know what it is, but you will lose fish on that spoon, but I almost never lose them if I'm using a Binks. But sometimes the Binks works better, sometimes War Eagle works better, so I always have both on.
That losing the fish also go back to your rod type, right?
It can, but generally I'll have them both on the same type of rod when I'm out there. So I'm trying to watch that more closely to see if there is a difference I'm not noticing. I also have been using that 6 cents spoon. My son brought one up and he was using it, catching some fish. I'm not convinced it's as good as the other 2 yet. Still a work in progress.
All right, just to recap, so we've covered everything on the boat, and we've covered up to how you go about to find the fish. And I guess our next segment is going to be get on the water and see if we can catch some fish. But I do want to say one thing, even all of us that fish a lot, we all use the same thing. We use the information that the club puts out.
Right.
We use those fishing reports, and we use the dew point and the thermocline to get us in the area that we want to fish. Yeah,
I mean, the Walleye Club was also a game changer, and as equal as the spot lock and the forward sonar. I mean, when you have those reports to look at on a pretty much a daily basis, someone's supplying a report of how deep, where they were at, what they were using, and then that thermocline and oxygen level report, that is just key during the summer months as to where you're going to find the biggest concentration of walleye.
Yeah, it eliminates so much water,
Oh yeah,
especially once it really
Yep.
starts setting up.
absolutely. I'm thinking they're small walleye, most of them. But you never know when you're going to get a keeper in the middle of those small walleye. Got interest. Got 4 fish going for it right now, if I can hook one. Look at this school. There's probably 10 or 12 fish in this school right here. At least.
Okay, so Steve, we talked a little bit about locating fish, and I know we use the fishing reports, and we use the thermocline and dew point reports to kind of put a plan together, eliminate water. Basically, is what we're doing there. When you talk about locating fish, but once we locate the fish, what about boats set up for this type of? You're using forward facing sonar. What do you try to do with that?
Well, now I can't necessarily do it here, but I always want to set up against the wind.
So we're facing the wind.
Facing the wind.
We're not blowing up onto the fish
Yeah.
that we're fishing.
Now, the reason I can't do that here is because I would also prefer to be casting and bringing it down the slope instead of up the slope,
Also the direction of the water flow.
whenever possible. But boy, there's a lot of fish in this area right here, I'll tell you that. But first I'll try this, and then I will go wide around this point because there's fish on it, and then I will try to cast into the wind. We didn't have wind 10 minutes ago, so it wasn't an issue. But there's fish all over this point. I mean, it's hard to see right now. I have my color gain turned way up because I'm using a 1/2 ounce spoon, and you want to follow that 1/2 ounce spoon 100 feet from the boat. You got to turn gain way up, and in this case, color gain. If I was using a 1 ounce spoon, I could turn that gain down. I wouldn't have all the snow, but it doesn't bother me as long as I see my lure and I see the fish.
Yeah.
I don't even notice that snow on the locator. So on the screen.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that you got two gains on there. You got your color gain and you got
Yeah.
your normal gain, and turning that color gain up when you're actually fishing like this makes a big difference in being able to identify your lure and the depth your lure is at.
See, the other thing, because of the way we're set up right now, I'm right on those fish, is it's also harder to follow your lure because you're getting a lot more drift when you got the wind pushing your boat forward. If I was set up down there facing the wind and have spot lock on, it'd be a lot easier to follow this lure because I wouldn't have hardly any drift. I got to keep adjusting my, I'm there right now. I got to keep adjusting my transducer as the boat drifts one way and another. So another reason I like to fish into the wind is because if I spot locked here, I'd have to be fishing towards the back of the boat. If a lot harder with, you know, your transducer to be fishing the back of the boat or the side of the boat opposite from where the transducer is. I have my transducers on the right side, so whenever possible, I'm fishing off the right side of the boat. It's just so much easier to aim and accurately find that lure when you're looking at the direction of it.
All right. And one of the other questions I got there, Steve, is when you set up, you got your forward-facing sonar set out to what, 100 feet?
Yeah, I got it for 100 feet, and I'm typically readjusting the depth according to where I don't use any automatic settings because 90%, there's a lot of fish here. I'm going to go wide around this point. I want to fish into the wind on these fish. Not all these are walleye, but I mean, I have seen some lined up along the bottom. See if I can.
Okay, so we talked about boat setup, we talked about the graph, and now let's talk. We found fish. Now, when you present your lure to the fish, do you cast to the fish or do you cast past them and move it towards them?
Well, I do a bit of both, because sometimes just dropping right down on that fish's head is the key to getting them.
Okay, so you change it up a little bit.
I change it up, but numerous times when I first get to a point within my first cast or two, I get a walleye, and often it's, I don't know, you know, it might only be 5% of the time, but still it happens. That fish has already got that lure in its mouth before I even start my retrieve. Because I dropped not even knowingly, I dropped right on top of that fish and he just sucked it in. I was out here on Monday and I, you know, spotted a fish below the boat. I just dropped right on his head, boom. He just hit it immediately. And vice versa, you know, a lot of times I want to work through a school. If there's a school of fish, I like to work right through them and watch them react to it. But, you know, either way can work.
Yeah.
He's hiding in the tree shadow.
Now, Steve, I noticed you've been pitching this and letting it fall on a slack line. Do you ever take and let it fall on a semi-taut line so that it slows the spoon down to see if it changes the fish's reaction?
I do that sometimes.
I know just changing things up a little bit makes a difference.
One thing different here than in Illinois, we were talking about Lake Shelbyville, is the way I work a spoon, because that's where I always use a spoon. It's just real popular there for everything.
Now, we find fish and we start throwing to them, and I know sometimes a fish, you see the fish react, sometimes they won't react. How long will you stay with it before you say, okay, these fish aren't gonna, you know, they ain't want what I want, or what, before you decide to move on? Or is it just kind of how you
Well, it depends if they're showing interest or not. I mean, I'm not getting a lot of reaction to my lures here, even though I'm seeing fish. So, you know, probably the minimum I spend on a point if I'm seeing fish is 30 minutes. And if I'm seeing fish, a lot of times I'll be there for minimally an hour, working the whole area, trying different lures, experimenting per se. But if I come to a point and I don't see anything, I might throw 5-10 casts and move on. There were a couple of, well, there still are. There are a couple of fish in that zone right there, on that bush. Yeah, I'm not seeing as many targets on the bottom as I saw in the afternoon the other day. I mean, they were definitely schooled up here, and they were bigger fish. You can obviously have semi-good judgment on the size of the fish once you've used this for a long time. Now, also, you can judge the size of the walleye a lot of times by how spaced apart they are. And the small ones really can space close together. The big ones are spaced further apart. I mean, you probably won't like with any animal. Yeah, they gave up once we got away from the brush. Yeah, there's still one after it. Not very aggressive though. What you really like to see is as it's dropping, they come off the bottom a little bit. Then you know they're in a feeding mood. A couple below the boat, but those probably are something else. We're going to get right over those, so if I can back the boat up here. I lost one. They're down there. So even if I lose the fish, you know, I know I'm within 10 feet of it.
Mm-hmm.
That clear water, 10 feet's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, here we go, a little bass.
All right, so Steve, you're throwing spoons today, different ounce spoons and weight spoons and all, but do you ever throw anything else besides a spoon using this technique?
I also fished this type of water with flicker minnows.
A flicker minnow?
I mean, right now the fish are 24 feet down, 25 feet down generally, and which is kind of forcing me to use a flicker minnow 11 because that's going to go. I got some interest here. That's going to go. They're probably white bass right there.
Thing, but I'll use a Repla ice jig.
Oh, I see what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, a rip and wrap, or even a jig and a crawler sometimes, just to change it up to see if they're not reacting to something, or they're reacting but they won't take it. I'll go ahead and change up and try that. So I mean, you're not, the people out there watching this, you're not just tied to doing this with just a spoon.
Oh, I gotta believe a jig and a crawler would just kill these fish, really, especially when we don't have interference from brush right here. When I was in high school, that's how the first walleyes I got were just barehead jig with a crawler on them. Fish I wanted were right there. Oh, I tell you, another real important thing is making sure that transducer is angled properly. Because if you're just off a couple degrees on that angle of that transducer, you know, whether it's tilted sideways, you're going to lose that lure out there. You know, you're not going to be able to track that lure the whole time. Because there was 4 blobs down there. And sure enough, one of them somehow hit it. And it's a walleye.
She looks like she's a keeper.
Oh, that would be a keeper, yeah. All right. Oh, look at that. He inhaled it. No need to measure. 18 and 1/16 inch. It's gonna be a small one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Couple years.
Yeah. Use a 3/8 ounce Binks.
Silver.
Silver. Well, I was going to say, different than Illinois, which is not clear water. And I always use a jigging spoon there, a different type. But in Illinois, if I'm doing this, I'm just doing very subtle, real subtle with it. But I found out here, there's three walleye right there, maybe 4. Look at that. That's what we're looking for right there. Point to it for me. Right there. 4 or 5 maybe. I'll have to put it in here.
So Steve, we're pulled up on the number 3 spot for the day, and what do we got a wind at our back. So what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Here's the point. Here we're going to fish, right?
Oh yeah. Normally, knowing the wind is at our back, I would have gone way wide around, came in from the other side. I'm just doing that with the trolling motor on high right now.
So we're going to put the bow into the wind and not run over the top of the fish.
That's right. Now I want to stay at least minimally 100 feet off of the edge of that point. You know, I mean the edge of where we want to fish. Probably more than that. And this point does go way out, so I'm going way around here.
Okay.
I got fish following it. Way out there though. Nice fish. Yeah, there was some good fish in there. Let's see here. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's probably some on that bush too.
Yep.
I think they're scattered in that whole area there, I believe. Blending in. They're in the brush for sure right here. And you see the fish and then you turn the transducer a little bit and you see the brush. But there's fish in that brush. Probably easier to see if I didn't have the gain up so much, but I can tell they're in there.
Oh, yeah, I see it. I see your spoon too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean those are fish right in there with the brush. Some fellow's trying to move in on us. Who is that guy? And it's got good visibility way out there on the live scope. I like that. Especially when you're working brush. Looks like a gar there maybe, I don't know. Could be. Yeah, there we go, come on. Showed a little interest. Boat's drifting a little bit. Gotta keep moving that transducer. Or move the boat, one or the other. I wonder what those are there. Those are sizable fish, whatever they are.
Bass probably.
Yeah. That's good. Oh, they're not going for it. Yeah, I'm over some fish right now on the bottom, but they're not doing anything.
Well, Steve, we started on the bank and we said it was going to be clear blue skies and no wind. We had a current and we didn't know how well we were going to do today. But we did come across a couple fish. It's been a little bit slow and it's starting to cloud up a little bit, but we've been at it 4 hours and it looks like it's not going to change, but you never know. That's fishing, right?
Right.
Steve, we want to thank you for
Yes.
the opportunity to bring us out here.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And show us all the cool little tricks that you showed us today, and we appreciate it very much. The club's going to appreciate it too.
So the trick is, don't go out too early on a hot summer day.
Yeah, 90
Wait till about
degrees.
noon. They'll start feeding anytime before sunset.
All right, thank you very much.